Hi guys, welcome back. So I did say I was going to do a follow-up video to England's World Cup training squad being announced, talking about which 33 might I pick to go to the World Cup if I was doing it right now before all the warm-ups. Of course, everything could change, people's performances, injuries, that sort of thing. But let's get into it, and I'd love to know what 33 you see from the players available. So those in the 41 and also those still in the training group that are rehabbing. So I've put those with asterisks next to them. They're the ones we can pick from. The ones that have been dropped, I'm leaving alone. So let's get into it. Loosehead prop. I could take Joe Marler. He certainly was there in 2019 and probably should have been played in the final. We all know that, but he's a little bit older, a little bit slower. He's a solid player, but with this whole squad, what I'm going to try and do is give England some sort of chance. Now, I know most people are writing them off, saying they've got no chance. Well, I want to pick a squad that at least has got a tiny chance of winning the World Cup, not just being solid for a few games and getting knocked out early, maybe in the knockouts or something like that, or even in the pool. So the looseheads I'm going for are Genge, Rod and Rapava Ruskin. Nice and straightforward there. The two old stages, Vunipola and Marler, I am leaving, and we're going with a little bit untried and untested, shall we say, in Rod and Rapava Ruskin. Genge is the man, of course. He'd probably start. If we want to go for extra scrummaging, maybe we go Rapava Ruskin, but I think he offers a lot of power as well. And a good impact off the bench is Bevan Rod, not the biggest loosehead, but I think he definitely would give a kick off the bench. So those are the three I'm going for. Like I said, I'm giving England hopefully at least a chance of winning games rather than just holding on and trying not to lose. So into hooker. Now Walker is there in the rehab group, so he is pickable. And I think in the graphic of my previous video, I'd left in Tom Dunn, but he wasn't selected. So I'm going to go with the three fit guys at the moment, Blamire, Dan and George. I'm actually semi-excited about this hooker slot now, with George obviously the starter, nice and solid, very experienced. And then Blamire and Dan, they are the athletic potential. Obviously, they haven't played a lot. Dan, uncapped. Blamire, no, not many caps at all, but maybe Dan off the bench would be pretty cool. At least it gives England a little bit of hope of some impact off the bench, and the old head to start. So those three at hooker. Tight head, well, there's only three in the squad, so it's obviously going to have to be Cole, Sinclair and Stewart. It's not the not the strongest position for England at all, and that's, putting it mildly. Cole, he's solid, he's a good scrummager, but, he's really getting on. Sinclair hasn't shown us that form we've seen from probably since the last World Cup, to be honest. Stewart probably looks like the starter to me, but again, he's not a proven world-class tight head, but those guys are really going to have to come through for England. Maybe we just have to expect them to do a job in that role and hopefully not get pushed around in the scrum. Now, second row is interesting. We have Chesham, who is rehabbing, Ollie Chesham there. And also, I did mention that Laws might be used or could be used as a second row as well, or maybe a utility player. So if Chesham is fit and proves it in those warm-ups, he would have to play at least one or two warm-ups, I would say, to be considered. Then he definitely is in. Johnny Hill is probably the one that misses out for me. He's a good player, he's a solid player, but I haven't seen anything that screams, I'm going to help you win a World Cup knockout game. Toje, if he gets back to his best, is obviously very good. Maybe we haven't seen it for a bit. Martin, I'm going to take him. We've got to take a chance on this squad, I think. Yes, he's one for the future as well, but he could go in there, maybe even on the bench as a second row and blindside cover. And Ribbons, I think, has been really good in the Premiership this year and for when he's played for England. So I think those four second rows go for me. And England's strength is in the back row. So I'm actually going to take a lot of back row here. I think it's 7 back row in total. That does mean I have to cut back in the backs a little bit, but I think England have to be decent in the pack. If you lose up front, you can't really win a game. So I'm going to go overboard on the back row because I think that's England's strongest area. I think that makes sense. Let me know if you think it is foolish down below. Tom Curry definitely goes, still a top player, maybe more as a 6 in this sort of mix I've got here. Don Brandt, I just don't see him as a World Cup winning number 8. I think he's a good player. Maybe he'll come through in this competition, but based on evidence, I'm just not going to take him. Earl goes as a 7 and someone who could play number 8 as well. Laws I've mentioned definitely goes. Ludlam's been too good for England, probably not to pick. So as a 6, he could play number 8 as well, maybe even 7. So a good guy to have on the bench if you're not going to start him. But I think he deserves his place based on performance. Pearson I'm taking, basically on hope that he's going to come through. We haven't seen it, of course, because he's uncapped, but he's got the potential. He's definitely got the physical ability. So he's a little bit of a bolter there, a little bit of a surprise package. And I'm going to take the 2 Willis boys over Underhill and Vunipola. Jack Willis, undoubted quality, proven already, I think, for England. As a 7, mainly, just a fantastic tackler, worker, jackler, amazing attitude. And I think if you take Tom Willis as well, those two will just push each other on. It's a bit of a chance again on Tom Willis, but I think England have to take a chance. Now Mercer's not in the squad. I want to take a chance a bit on that number 8 slot that's been a bit weak for us. So Tom Willis as a number 8 and probably Earl as the backup number 8, maybe Ludlam as well. So 7 back rows, because I think England have to take advantage of some strength and ability and potential in that area. Now on to scrum half, and I know in the past I said it's silly if you don't take 3. So I'm not going to take 3, I'm going to take 2. I need to make way for all those back row, and also I just can't take Youngs really in my picks because I just think he's not a World Cup winning scrum half at the moment. Sure, he could run a game, do the box kicks, he's got experience, but my heart would just sink if I put him in the 33, so I'm not going to. Kerr is still a great player. He's just an older great player. It's quite a lot to put on his shoulders, but he goes as the experienced scrum half. Van Poortvliet has been okay for England, but I want to see that weight lifted off his shoulders. He just looks like he's played with a lot of expectation and pressure on him, and he just needs to go stuff it and let's go for it. And you're in France, so if you need to fly over Youngs or Mitchell or Spencer, hopefully, to replace one of them, I think you could do it quite easily, a lot easier than going to Japan, say. So 2 scrum halves, a bit risky. And fly halves, I'm going to go for 2 as well. Farrell, absolutely, the best fly half in England this year, and the captain. He goes. Who's the backup? Ford and Smith. It's very close, but Smith is my man. He is the future as well. I think he's got the potential to really explode a game if you go all in on him and say, you are the man. We're going to play you for your strengths, not your weaknesses. I think he's got more game-winning ability than Ford, although I'd love to know your comments below on fly half. Centres. We've got Ollie Lawrence rehabbing, and if he gets fit, he just has to go because we're really struggling on inside centres if you're not going to use Farrell as an inside centre. So Lawrence goes and Tuolangi as the 12s. I think you kind of have to do that. And as the 13s, I'm going to take Marchant. He is a really good player. He hasn't had a huge amount of time for England, but I think he could be even better than he has been for England so far. As the other 13, I'm not going to take Slade. I'm not going to take Porter either. I'm not quite sure he's at that level. Slade, I haven't seen him at that level for a while. I don't think he is the player he quite was. So I'm going to take Daly actually as my extra centre, as my extra 13 and a utility back. So those would be my 4 centres. So finally onto the back 3, and I'm going to take 5. My first 2 picks are going to be the impact guys, something with a bit different. Henry Arundel for the pure speed, and Thokanasiga I'm going to take for his size and power. Both have had great impact for England. Arundel scored tries on his few minutes. Thokanasiga scored a lot of tries for England. Sure, they might be picked on for their vulnerabilities, or Arundel for his inexperience, but pick them for what they can do. Then the other 3 I think are really good safe bets, possibly starters actually. Murley goes, so I'm missing out Malins and May. I'm not taking either of them. I don't think either of them really could win a World Cup, although Malins covers a lot of positions. But Murley, I think, really has to go. Power, pace, you could use him in all sorts of ways. He's experienced as a rugby player. He's ready to start on one wing, I think, for England. Stewart to go as the main fullback, and Watson as the other starter, maybe covering fullback, and also Daly covering fullback. So I think it's a good spread. It gives England just a slither of a chance of winning this World Cup. Let me know what you think of my 33. Pick yours below. Check out all the other World Cup content around me here. Feel free to subscribe and like and all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time.